Hey, you guys, welcome to the Fulfilled and Fit podcast. My name is Jessie Perry, and I'm so excited to be back with you for another episode. I am so honored and so excited for my conversation that I'm about to have with my best friend and my college roommate, Alyssa Thomas of Alyssa Thomas Event Planning and Design. She has been such a huge influence on me, guys, which we'll dive into a little bit during the podcast, but Alyssa, per usual, is up to some amazing things, and we get to hear about it today and hear how God has kind of had his hand in all of this, and he's had his hand a lot in our lives and our friendship together, so you guys will kind of hear some of that as well. But before we dive in, Alyssa, why don't you give a quick introduction of yourself and who you are, and just something brief for people who may not know you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me today. Obviously, we share so much and grown up together the past 5 years, and you've just been an inspiration to me and so many people, and I'm so glad that you invited me to share a little bit about my journey and kind of where I'm headed and what I'm doing. So as you guys know, my name's Alyssa. I grew up in Ohio, went to college with Jessie, and I currently live in Baltimore, Maryland with my husband. So a little bit about me is I work at Under Armour. I'm merchandising with them, and that's my full-time career. And then just this past year in January, I launched my own event planning and design company, which we'll get into in a little bit. And just really excited to share, how faith has brought me on that journey and brought me ultimately to want to serve and share my passion with you guys. So I think a couple fun facts about me is I love to travel. I love spending time outdoors with my friends, family, through fitness and leisure. And I have a super, super big sweet tooth. I'd love ice cream.
I can vouch for this.
It's such a weakness of mine, but you definitely can't stop me from eating some sweets. So
you guys, this girl, if you are watching the video, and if you're not, you'll have to go to the Fulfilled and Fit podcast website. But oh my gosh, I would always get mad at her during college. I'm like, how can you eat this much? And she looks like a model. We'll say that. I can vouch for the sweet tooth, but no, I love that, and everything you said obviously rings so true. Before we kind of dive into your amazing event planning business that you're starting, all these cool things that you're doing, I want to kind of spend a little bit of time talking about faith, because obviously that's why people listen to this, because they're looking for somebody or people or stories of other women who are in similar boats, and who are, we have people and listeners who are brand new at their faith and with their faith, and they're still not really sure about it, and people who are much more seasoned than I am. And as you know, I started this not because I'm an expert by any means, but because I wanted a way to connect with other people, because I want to continue to strengthen my faith. And before we kind of dive into that, I want to give the listeners a little bit of a backup story, and I'm going to try and keep this together because it just makes me so emotional. And looking back, you, Alyssa, have played just a huge, huge, huge role in my entire life, in my faith. For those of you guys who don't know, Alyssa and I were roommates our senior year of college. I wish it was longer, but we were basically we live next door to each other, and she's been my best friend now for several years. And it kind of, it was, for me, it was always seeing Alyssa and how she went about her day-to-day life, the way she handled her happiness, the way she handled her problems. And certainly in college, she had her fair share of life situations that would throw anybody for a curveball. And the way that Alyssa navigated through her life and through her basketball career and school and striving for all these things, and her friends, and still be able to have fun and all these things, there was just something different. And when people ask me about how I got interested in starting my faith, I always bring them back to you, because I just noticed there was something different. I didn't know what it was. I just didn't know if you were just a superwoman or what. But obviously I came to realize that something was that you closely follow Jesus, and that you really had a strong faith, and it wavered, obviously, just like it does for everyone at times, especially during hard times. But it was something that was consistent. And Alyssa would nudge me very lightly here and there. And she was actually the first person I felt comfortable with asking, okay, I'm kind of curious about this. Like, I'm sort of wondering, I don't really know, this is how I was brought up. And she did not force anything on me. She didn't press anything on me. She didn't tell me her views. She just encouraged me. She would slip like articles or like a book at one time. She like slipped and she's like, just like, check this out if you want. And it was that soft encouragement that really started to pique my curiosity. So she brought me to CFA, and that was really cool. And I'm like, this is kind of cool. Like, this is different. And then we went to the Well, which at our school was like this really neat Thursday night, Christian concert, basically. It was like
it was fun.
Night service. It was really cool. And Alyssa was someone who supported me, not only, in my life endeavors, but she's always supported me in my faith and bringing me to my faith. And, especially when I didn't have any support and had the opposite of an encouraging situation, I had Alyssa, who was consistent in helping me pursue what I wanted to through the good, the bad, and the everything. She really helped to encourage me even after college then to find a church and to get plugged in. And my story really does start with Alyssa's encouragement, and I would not be anywhere close. I wouldn't have gotten baptized. I wouldn't have had all these life things happen in my life wouldn't be this good if all of that didn't happen. And I don't think I ever really can explain my gratitude to you, Alyssa, for just that friendship, that consistent encouragement, that truth, just being a rock always. You're always a rock in my life, and that just that's a huge thing. And you really are fulfilling. You have a zillion callings on your life, but the one that is the biggest that God calls us to is to bring other people to him. And you did that for me, and I get chills thinking about it. But Alyssa's played a huge role, so I'm really excited to have her on today. So now that you guys know a little bit about me and my relationship with Alyssa and how she helped me find my faith, Alyssa, I want to hear a little bit about your faith, because I know it's a different story than mine. Can you tell us and the listeners, is it something that you've always had? Was it something that you grew up with? Was it always in your environment, or was it enhanced in certain environments? Or tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. One, so kind of you to say all those things. I definitely think our paths crossed at a great time. That's my college careers when, I really, really hit home, and Christianity really hit home by surrounding myself with so many amazing women. And I'm just really glad that our paths have crossed, and, we've really grown a great friendship out of faith and it being faith-based. So thank you so much. That was so kind. I think, for me, I grew up in a Christian household. My parents, taught me about God. They, grew up reading me the Bible stories. We went to church growing up when I was really young. I went through confirmation in 8th grade, and, or I guess I would have been in high school when I went through confirmation. But, once I got into high school and sports started to take a little bit more priority in my life, I think going to church kind of fell to the wayside. And it wasn't really until college, I ended up playing basketball in college, and I was on an amazing team. My coaches were so strong in their faith. They preached the Bible every day. They recruited women that weren't only good basketball players, but great people. And so we just had a really strong team that was centered in faith. And I think my foundation growing up in a Christian household, really allowed me to understand what religion was and kind of have an idea of what God was. But it wasn't until college that I really knew that all God wanted was a relationship with me. And relationships go two ways. It's a two-way street, and I needed to put in the effort to grow in my relationship with God. I think were really like three. I don't necessarily have like one big aha moment to when I said like, this is when, or now I'm going to like be fully in or fully out. I think there are three things that stood out to me. Thanks for sending these questions ahead of time, because I was able to prepare a little bit. But three things that stand out to me were, one, when the recession hit in 2008, my parents, took a little bit of a hit with their careers. So I think when I look back on that and I realize how much faith they had, and seeing them get through something and keep our family together and continue to have really strong values, and keep their children and their faith front of mind, that was a moment that I realized, God is working in their life. And they're, continuing to be great role models and parents for me. And that really affected me in a positive way.
Yeah.
It would have been when I got to college and I realized how much community matters. Being surrounded by the Bible and the Word every single day. We prayed before practice, we prayed before meals, we prayed before games, we played for God. That was our motto. We were humble and hungry. We played for God. And it's just amazing, the success that we had, like we gave him the glory. And when you're surrounded with a community of girls that are all going after the same goal and all have a really strong faith, it's just so easy to see how he works in your life. It's just so eye-opening and so wonderful. And then I think the third thing, my husband now, he was my boyfriend, obviously, at the time when I met him, he was going through some huge trials and tribulations. I mean, things that, people don't normally come out on the other end being as great of a person as he is. And I'm super biased because he's my husband, but
I'm biased too. I love Brad. Team Brad. I love you.
Yeah. I always tell the story with, I can't tell it without crying. So I'm not going to get into too much detail, but he persevered through some amazing trials, and he is one of, the best people, the most humble person, strong in faith, and seeing, how God can work in his life, and how when you rely on faith to get through those tribulations, how successful and how amazing you can get through and turn out on the other side. And those are, I think, just three things, when I look back, that really impacted me, and just helped me, continue my faith in God and realize that I wanted to grow in my relationship with him and just give him the glory for everything.
I love that. And, like the thing that stood out to me in that has stood out to me personally as well. And I know we've talked about this in, I forget which study, study we were doing that we talked about this, but like looking at those moments that not only has when God has helped you and try and rely on that, but how is he working through other people and let that be. And that's really, those three scenarios, like, yes, they all affected you and they were part of you and it was God working through you too, but it started off with a catalyst through someone else and that built your faith. You know what I mean? And I just think that it's so cool and so encouraging, because I know for myself, and too, like I struggled thinking, okay, well, I haven't really seen, I don't know, am I supposed to see God do like this huge miraculous thing? And in your own life, it's, nothing changes day to day. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I guess like a lot has changed. I guess, a lot has happened, and God, this is, looking back is the only way you can, see God's work. But I think that your story encourages those who are listening that are like, okay, I want to build my faith, but I really haven't seen God do much in my life. And so who are those people close to them that they can say, wow, how did they get through that? Or it had to, that doesn't just happen to them. That, in finding those circumstances where they can utilize other people's stories to help encourage them and build their faith that, okay, maybe God hasn't done like this gigantic thing in your life yet, but what about the small things? And what about the things he did for your sister or your mom or, your coworker or whatever? And I think that that's also important to share when God does something through your life, because it encourages other people, Yeah,
absolutely. I feel like too, it's so easy sometimes, like you said, to not see the big picture. And, God works in so many ways. I think we talked about it a little bit on the study, but, you can just be grateful every night for like you can write down thousands of things that you're grateful for. And then when you look back on it in 3 years, there were these moments that really flipped for you. And whether you're going through a trial or you're going through a triumph right now, there's always going to be the opposite. God guarantees that you're going to have trials, which is, scary and a little intimidating to think about. But when you realize how great and how amazing he is, and, how much faith you can have in him to get you through things, those trials don't seem as intimidating, especially when you can look at how some of your best friends and your family and your mentors have gotten through very, very difficult situations.
Yeah, and even personally, like there's so many things in your life and in mine too now that I'm, cognizant of it, that I'm like, how did I actually make it through that season? Like, how did I go through that season? And even as stupid as it is, but time hop, right? So Time Hop comes up, and I'm like addicted to this for some reason. I look at Time Hop every morning. I don't know. It's like one of the first things I do after my devotion. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna like look at Time Hop. So this is all like my pre-workouts kicking in. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna like look at Time Hop. So I look back, and it's, you know, it's even things like the other day. This is the time 5 years ago where I started a terrible season that you can certainly vouch for, but I looked at pictures and I was like, that's when I got mono. That's when I, you know, and then it stormed for a while there, you know, with family stuff and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, you look back on that and I'm like, wow, I mean, I like made it through that pretty okay, not okay.
Better than okay.
But, you know what I mean? Like you make it through these things, and it almost takes that reminder of, wow, you know, that though I wasn't as strong in my faith by any means then, like that wasn't me working through that alone. Like I didn't make a lot of those decisions on my own. There was something that was like guiding me through that and helping me find a different purpose and stuff like that, you know? So I think it's very helpful to reflect, and I feel like our faith can be strengthened through that, you know? So I love that you brought that point up for sure. So I want to get into your business, but I have one more question.
Yeah,
what is like the number one thing that you would tell somebody who just wants to start building their faith and they're not really sure what to do? Is there one of your favorite resources or somewhere you would start, or, you know, how would you encourage them, or what advice would you give to them?
Yeah. I think, you know, the number one piece of advice I would give is to find a community. I think that comes from a lot of different outlets. It can come from Bible studies. It can come from online mentoring groups. It can come from a church. It can come from just like spiritual leaders in your community or mentors that, you know, you might not have talked faith about before, but you know they're strong in their faith. I think just finding that community and a group of like-minded people that are all aspiring to grow stronger in their relationship with God is really important. And you know, for me, Brad and I, after college, we moved out to Baltimore, and it was really an awesome turning point in our relationship. We had a line on goals. We were on our own. We didn't have family or, you know, friends here. So we really had to say, you know, we want to grow in our faith and have, you know, faith-based values. And in order to do that, we joined a church and we started going to a small group. The small group was wonderful for us, and it allowed us to have a ton of different resources across the city. We, you know, had a lot of resources that helped with our personal careers, a lot of resources, you know, just nice to know neighbors that have values like you, and then just really friends to talk through things and rely on, you know, when you need some help. So that was great. And then also, you know, we're in an online Bible study together. And I think what's great about that is we have a group of friends that, you know, just love learning and love growing in the relationship. And there's just no boundaries, and, you know, you can just be confident and asking questions and really just learning together to grow in God. So I would say community is huge. It's definitely has been the biggest catalyst for me in growing in my faith, and would recommend that for anybody to seek it. You know, email me if you have questions. I'm definitely not an expert in religion by any means, but definitely, you know, connect you to the right people and get you moving.
Yeah, I love that. And then obviously, you know, I agree. And I also want to clear something up. I feel like, because I kind of got, you know, sometimes when I say like, oh, because Tuesday nights, you guys, is our virtual Bible study. And sometimes people are like, oh, you do a Bible study. And it doesn't have to be like that. And it's not, you know, uppity. It's not, you know, we're not all perfect people coming together, reading scripture and singing hymns. You know, that's just not how it goes. We are all, what I love most about our virtual Bible study is we are all in totally different paths of life. Yeah. We're all interconnected. We all share the same, you know, same love for trying to find more of our faith, trying to increase it. We've shared struggles on there. It's more about being a better person and how can we be a better person and follow God and like what is his plan for our life than it is, you know, right? And so I think that's something that people need to understand, especially women our age need to understand, is that when you say find a community, you're not saying go be a perfect person, join a group of people who are perfect Christians who don't do anything, you know, they do it all by the Bible and all by the rules and go follow this study where you have to sit there and you have to read scripture and like, just pray the whole time. It's not like that. And you and I know that, obviously, but I don't think I've ever talked about that on a podcast, and maybe that's something I should, but I think it's important for people to know that, like, normal people who have crazy lives in all these different areas, and we're young professionals, and some of you guys are married, some of you guys are moms, some of us are dating or attempting to, and we share funny stuff too, and so I think that it's important for people to know that too, and I hope that people can find friends in a community, like we have, and obviously we invite people to join us as well. So, okay, now I want to kind of segue a little bit. We know the backstory of your faith, and obviously we know that God's hand plays an integral part of your life. So tell us about your business. We want to know the details. Tell us like the overview of it, and then we'll kind of break down like how'd you come up with the idea and some other questions like that. But in general, what is your business?
Yeah, so I launched my event planning and design business this past January. It was really launched to fulfill a passion of mine that I feel God has called me to serve and help and inspire others. And, while my career at Under Armour completely fulfills other passions, this is just an area that I felt like it was lacking for like hands-on creativity and that face-to-face interaction to be able to inspire and just really help and guide people in their life. And I've been working a lot with mentors. I've been reading a lot of books, praying a lot about it. And I just feel like, this was time for me to take that leap of faith. And, God has called me to do this. So I launched my event planning business, which was so fun and so crazy and so overwhelming. As you know, it's really, really crazy to start a business, and definitely you have to have a lot of patience to get through it.
A lot of us may or may not struggle with a little bit.
One of my biggest weaknesses is patience. So that's definitely been a good learning curve. And it's just been great. I do consulting. So I help with hourly consulting for people that just need help with smaller things like decor and details, invitations, and then I also offer day of and full service planning. So it's really been fun. I have a handful of clients under my belt that I've been working with, and it's been a really good ride so far.
I love it. And This is something that has, I have to segue before we go into it, but this is something that I feel like has been not, kind of in your mind for a while. Like you had this other idea with the whole the whole candy thing and all that. And it's interesting to me how sometimes we can have an idea that's planted in our heads and God says, not yet, like wait. And like you said, it took you time and speaking with mentors and figuring, was this the right season for you to approach something like this? And then it was. But gosh, that was when did we graduate? Oh my gosh, did we almost graduate 4 years ago? 3 years ago? 3 years ago?
3 years ago.
Yeah, that's terrifying. So it's been 3-4+ years, maybe 5, maybe more than that you have had this kind of building. And so just another learning lesson, something I'm taking away, and I have taken away from your story, is that, it's not like God gives you this inspiration and this passion and then it's like, go, and he's going to deliver and you're going to deliver and everything's going to be great. Sometimes it takes time to build. And so I'm so excited for you because I know this is
Thank you so much.
Building. So how did you come up with the idea?
I think that's a good question. I think for me, I've kind of always been, I think the friend that my friends and even family have come through just to ask for ideas and thoughts on executing events or, color coordination or outfits, just kind of a lot of creativity and design questions have been coming my way. And a lot of people just ask my advice, and opinions on a lot of fashion and different areas. So that was kind of one thing that I started thinking about, like what do people really, like to talk to me about, and what areas can I really inspire them and help them grow, help them get answers and really serve them. And then I got married 2 years ago now, and it was amazing planning my own wedding. I had one of the best times doing it. And after talking with a lot of people, a lot of brides don't usually give that answer. Like the wedding planning process was the best. Like you really don't hear that much because it can be very stressful and there's so much that goes into it. I was like, maybe this is something that I can latch onto and really dive in. And my cousin, she does wedding planning in Columbus, and we have a lot of the same personalities, same taste. And she's just been very successful and is super amazing at it. And I think for me, I was like, I can do this, and I can do this in a way, that God wants me to and is calling me to serve others. So I really wanted kind of to have my faith influence my career and really influence this event planning business with working with people and inspiring them.
I love it. So you might have already answered this a little bit, but what is, have you seen the relationship between your faith and this business? Obviously, you mentioned it a little bit, but how has maybe your faith impacted your business, even in maybe some of the decisions you've made, or maybe in just the direction you want to go, or the type of people you want to help, or whatever? How has that relationship kind of sprouted, I guess?
Yeah, for me, I think there's like a couple of different ways to look at it. There's a little bit more tactical way of just like starting your own business is really difficult. It takes a lot of resources and a lot of time and a lot of patience. And I've really just prayed on it. It's so easy to compare yourself to other people in the industry. Compare yourself to the amount of social media followers you have, the amount of clients you have. You have these goals that you set. If you don't hit one, it can be intimidating. And I think, when God calls you to do something, he created all of us to have gifts and to do something in his name. And when he's calling you to do that, he's not going to lead you astray. Like if that is your calling, you got to hold on and keep going, and he's going to get you there. And I think for me, it's just a little bit more tactical, just like praying to get me moving and praying that, I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I just need to remember that he has my best interest in mind. And then secondly, a little bit more like practical and working with clients, event planning, a lot of my time I focus on weddings, and a lot of that is dealing with marriages and relationships and being around faith-based couples. And it's just so awesome to see the couples that I've been meeting and really just grow relationships and community with other people that are living near me, living out of state. And it's just awesome to kind of create that community around the US. So it's been awesome to meet a lot of people and really see how God's working through this business.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Would you say that there was any moment specifically that you were like, okay, God, I hear you, I'm going to do this? Or would you say like, how did you know and feel like you knew that God was telling you that it was time to like act on this?
Yeah. I think for me, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I've done a lot of reflection on, what my purpose is and the strengths that I've been given and how can I utilize that to serve others. And I think 2016 was a lot of just like reflection and figuring out exactly where I wanted to go in my career and what I wanted to do with that. And so once the new year hit, I was going back and forth with career coaching. Some of my mentors will probably laugh because I was like on that train for a good 3 weeks. I could not stop talking about it. And then one day I was weighing out my options and trying to understand like salary and time commitment and location. And there was all these things that were going into it. And I kept just going back to event planning and design is really what will make me the happiest and what I can put all of my effort into to really inspire others and use my creative strengths to help people. And I felt like the moment that the back of my mind that I couldn't stop thinking about it is when I needed to take it on full speed. And as soon as I started, I can't stop. It's just something that I know I need to do. And I wouldn't say there's been one moment because for the first part of the year I was all over the place, but definitely just when you can't get it out of your head, like that's when you know.
See, and I think that's encouraging though too, because so many times we hear people say like, I felt called to do it. And it's like, did God call you? Did you hear an audible voice? I've never heard an audible voice. What is the deal? I don't understand. Like, oh, God called me to do this. Like and I've read it a lot. I've thought that a lot where I'm like, what am I missing? Because I don't feel like God has ever been like, Jesse, you need to do this now, right? Like a lot of people don't experience it. And a lot of the preachers and the pastors that I follow too will say, I do feel like I'm called for this, but I've never heard an audible voice, or they may have heard it once and it was, or whatever. But I think that is something that is important for people to hear how other people experience hearing from God. Like oftentimes it is a repetitive thought that you're like, okay, this keeps coming in and out of my head without me consciously thinking about it. This has got to be some sort of sign, you know? And I don't feel like we would take action unless God either wanted us to do it or learn from it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's always a reason for stepping into new things. And like I said, you know, I used my strengths and I knew what those were. And then when it's just, you can't get it out of your head, you feel like you have to go full speed. And I think having a strong foundation in faith can really help mature that situation and really give you confidence to know that's the direction to go. Without God, without prayer, without all of the past relationships I've ever had with regards to my faith and with God, you know, that thought would not have turned into this is a calling.
Right. Yeah. That's spot on. So I already know the answer to this, but how does service play a role in your business, and how do you feel like you're able to provide that through your work?
Yeah. So with event planning and design, I mean, it is a service-based business, so it's not like a single product that I sell. So a lot of it is consulting and working hand in hand with clients every day to make sure that we're executing and envisioning and creating, you know, the events and weddings that they want. So it definitely is a service-based business. I feel like I'm, you know, really fulfilling my passion with that side of things. And it's just been fun to be able to grow and build relationships in that way.
You're taking the stress off of people who don't want to be doing it, right? Like you're helping them create one of the most memorable and best days of their life without them having to worry about it. Like you are that, like, you know what I mean? You are the sigh of relief because they know it's in good hands, which I think is awesome. And like you said earlier too, you're connecting with people who are faith-based and are going into a lifelong commitment. So that's like pretty sweet that you get to help them with that too.
Absolutely, yeah. It's really fun to work with couples and be a part of some of their, you know, their best days of their lives. And it's just a really, really special time.
Yeah. I like couldn't keep it together though, I don't think. I think I would
just cry at every ceremony.
Alyssa has walked into our dorm room and I've just been sobbing at you two. Like, I just love it.
Say Yes to the Dress was your go-to.
I love
go-to crying show.
Like, say the vows, I'm like, put a fork in me, I'm done. I can't contain it. But no, it's super cool. And if you ever need an assistant, by the way, I would totally go. I love weddings. Okay. Anyway, on to our kind of final question, then we'll wrap up a little bit. So what last piece of advice would you give to people who feel like they might have some sort of calling or some sort of kind of just desire to do something business related or service related for God's glory? Like maybe they want to start their own something. What kind of advice would you give to them based off of kind of what you've been experiencing with your new business?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I would say just pray about it. Spend a lot of time in prayer and in communication with God and understanding if this is the right season for you. I mean, take into effect everything that comes along with it, with financial, time, relationships, location, kind of look at all angles of your current situation and really understand if this is the right thing for you. And if all those boxes are checked, you know, be in communication with mentors that you trust and are definitely going to lead you in the right path. I would actually say, you know, while family and some of your best friends are really great because they know you really well, it's also nice to get some outside mentorship, some people that don't have as close of a relationship with you growing up. So, you know, they kind of have just dove in their relationship and can look at where you are at now in your life and what your strengths are at now. So I think, you know, prayer and community is great. And then also just have confidence. I mean, taking the first step is really, really intimidating and hard and scary and overwhelming. But like I said, you know, God gave us all something to share with the world. And I fully believe that when you found it and when you are ready to take that step, He's going to lead you to ultimate success and ultimate glory and sharing with the world your faith through Him. And, you know, just know that He's there every step of the way, whether or not you're at a setback, need some patience, need something to just get you moving. Like, you are on the right track and it's what you're called to do. So just take that first step.
I love it. People are going to love that. So where can people connect with you? Do you have a website, or I know you have a little something? say something?
Yeah, you guys can connect with me. My website is Alyssa, ALYSSA-Thomas.com. So my website. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Alyssa Thomas Events. And then Jessie is going to share with you guys, but I do have a free workbook for newly engaged couples that want to have some help on inspiring their wedding vision. It's just a 4 simple step workbook to really get your creative juices flowing and inspire your wedding vision and theme so you can really dive into wedding planning full speed.
And I'm going to do that, and my future husband and I are going to be super prepared.
Yes.
Way.
You're going to do it now.
I'm going to be like, wow. It'll be like, hopefully not more than 5 years from now. Oh my God, here's my inspired workbook. My vision.
I love that.
I love it. So that is so awesome. And of course, in the on the Fulfilled and Fit website for the podcast, we will have it all linked up. And if you're watching this video, it's just below. In the text, you'll be able to connect and click right over to Alyssa, so that way you can get in contact with her, and that way you can utilize her services and get to have your own relationship with her, because she's got an awesome heart. And I just want to thank you, Alyssa, again for hopping on today. I love you, and I just am so happy that obviously you've come into my life. You've been such a huge part of it, but it's been so rewarding to watch you evolve and watch you grow. And especially, I know this was a big step and scary, especially when not to mention you didn't have to do it, right? Like you have a successful career. This was nothing that you had to do, but it's something that you really feel strongly God's calling you to do. And you're able to help a lot of people along the way. And this is literally only the beginning, for sure. So I am honored to be able to have snagged you before you become ultra famous.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on here, and I just really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share a little bit about my faith and my journey, and hopefully, it can give some people some positive inspiration and positive influence in their life, and just appreciate you taking the time to get to know me a little bit better and talk through.
Of course. Thank you again, Alyssa, for hopping on today, and for everybody else, we will talk with you soon on the Fulfilled and Fit podcast. Bye.